I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
If you're looking for the best basketball talk in the universe, you just found it. This is DeepHoops, where fans are the host. Tim Brayboy, Troy Ramel Royal, and me, your point guard, Jehudi. We're talking basketball, all basketball, and nothing but basketball. So sit back and enjoy the best basketball talk in the podcast universe. This is DeepHoops.
This is our Deep Hoop Show. We're talking March Madness and the NBA. Normally we talk just NBA, but because it's March Madness, we definitely have to include the college March Madness tournament. I'm the minister.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Rob, the straw.
The straw that stirs the drink, Mr. Controversial. But, we're here to talk basketball, all basketball, and nothing but basketball. And we're going to kick it off with the NCAAs. We're heading into the Final Four. We've had an interesting tournament, a lot of interesting games that happen. What are your thoughts as we head into the Final Four, Tim?
The first three games of the Elite Eight, especially today's game, Texas Tech and Villanova, rock throwing. A lot of bad basketball.
What, bad basketball? I mean, come on.
Rock throwing. A lot of missed shots. A lot of, bad decisions going both ways on Texas Tech and Villanova. I mean, you had a great story with the old lady
in Loyola Chicago.
And not only with her, but Loyola Chicago, the last time they were in the NCAA tournament, 1963, they were the first team to deploy at least more than 3 African-American players, right?
And couldn't start more than 2,
You couldn't start more than 2. They had 4. So it's a great story coming here, everything that's going on in the world politically and everything like that. It's a great story. But as far as the basketball, we got back to the real March Madness, the marquee game, the Blue Bloods, Kansas and Duke. A great game. That was a great game.
But Tim, I think that you are a blue blood kind of guy. You don't like the mid majors. You don't like people coming out of the underdogs succeeding. You want to see all the top teams, the North Carolina, the Duke, the Kansas, the Kentucky. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I'm going to support a little bit what Tim has said. I think that when we watch the NCAAs now, especially in the one-and-done era, the first week of it is the best week. And the reason why I say that is because, it's no longer just seeing 2 schools match up for the very first time, or maybe haven't played each other in over 30 years. But what happens is that that's where the upsets lie now. In that first week of the tournament.
I agree.
Because of a one-and-done program meets a team that features 5 or 6 more juniors or seniors. And what happens is that after you get past that, and whether the upset occurs or not, but if the upset does occur in that first weekend, now when we get to the second weekend, now they're playing the real talent.
Right.
And you see the difference between what might be a team put together of C-level, B-minus talent, opposed to some of the teams that have the A.
The funny thing about that, Rob, in the South that made it to Atlanta, as Tim said last week, going into Atlanta, you didn't have many top seeds going in. So it was bottom seeds versus mid seeds. Right. But it made for, whether Tim thinks of it as rock throwing, it made for interesting basketball.
It did. It does make for interesting basketball. Look, you have a Final Four matchup with Loyola of Chicago versus Michigan. Both of them are Cinderella teams.
Right.
I mean,
even though Michigan is a blue blood school.
And here's the thing. Take the university off the jersey. The players are identical.
Yeah.
None of them have history.
Right. And none of them would you be saying that they're NBA superstar potential?
Because even though Michigan is a known commodity,
they're known in football for real.
They don't have not one first round draft prospect.
Right.
No.
On the team.
Right.
They don't have a Hardaway Jr. They don't even have what's the guy that
Trey
plays
Burke.
for? They don't have a Trey Burke. They don't have
Harris.
They don't have a Harris. They don't have what's the guy? LeVert, from
Right.
what
Exactly.
Brooklyn.
Gerald?
Not Gerald. I thought it was his son, but I was like, it's a different spelling. But it's not. So it's not Gerald's son. So they don't even have that type of guy.
Right. No OJs
So
or nothing.
nothing.
So if you
Not
took
at all.
the jerseys off, or if it was shirts against skins, it'd be.
And you come back in the second half and you switch it up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know who was who.
No, you wouldn't know.
Now,
Yeah.
from what it looks like, from what all the commentators are saying, is that Loyola, even though it's a lower mid-major school, they run more of a pro. They run a few pro style offenses that are left in the tournament. So that's why you can tell the difference. This isn't a Cinderella. This is a legit team that really has a chance to win it all.
You know, I'm going to ask you this week, and I'm going to ask you again because we record on Sundays. So we have a day between the finals. But going into the Final Four, who are your picks? Who do you pick to win on Saturday, and who do you pick to win it all?
Well, at the beginning of the tournament, I had Villanova beating Xavier for the finals. So I still have Villanova winning it all. I actually think that Villanova is going to knock off Kansas. And then I see Michigan knocking off Loyola of Chicago. And then Villanova beat Michigan in the finals.
Okay. All right. Tim?
I have Michigan against Nova in the finals, and Nova winning it all.
I have Nova winning it all. But come on, what's her name? Sister Mary or Sister Julie? Or what's her name? Sister?
Sister.
Sister? I have Loyola of Chicago
Yeah.
going up against Villanova, and Villanova letting them know, okay, now you're up against the real big dog, and you ain't going no further. Sister Mary, Mother Teresa, I don't care who you got, you ain't winning.
Now, Jalen Brunson, he's won a championship with Villanova. He's the son of Rick Brunson that played in the league. And he's up for College Player of the Year. And I think it's going to be an honor that's well deserved. And it's funny that he's not even a prospect for the first round. They have him for mid-second round.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. His former backcourt mate, who won a championship with him, was also a mid-second round pick. And he actually was playing very well for the Lakers this year, Josh Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show you that there's talent in the second round.
Yes.
Especially those who stayed 2 and 3 years or possibly 4 years. But it's really baffling that the freshmen that hasn't even reached their potential yet are going to still be drafted early based off of potential. When you got a guy like Jalen Brunson that is a candidate for Player of the Year and possibly can win his second championship in 3 years, and he's in the back end of the draft.
But you know what? I think he's going to end up showing himself well in the NBA with some of the people that are picked ahead of him may be out of the league.
He to me, he could be the Dak Prescott of the point guards.
Okay.
You know, Dak Prescott, 4th round quarterback.
Yeah.
And here's a guy.
Dallas Cowboy.
Right. And here's a guy that possibly going to win 2 championships, College Player of the Year possibly, and he's going to be found in the second round. Whoever gets a hold of him is going to get a very good point guard.
Well, you know, the NCAAs to me have been interesting. We have our picks. All of us have Villanova. We will go back over this on Sunday, next Sunday, as we're in between the Final Four and the championship game, and we'll discuss our pick, all picking Villanova. Hopefully Villanova is playing. I hope Villanova is playing Loyola of Chicago, because then I'll look like the genius, and the two of you will look like, well, the two of you. So Adam Silver tried to minimize injuries by elongating the career, having a longer break at the All-Star break. Yet we have superstars being injured going into the playoffs, something that he must be cringing about right now. I mean, and with Stephen Curry going down the other night after coming back from his injury, you still have Kyrie having to have a surgery. Jimmy Butler should be back for the playoffs, but he went out right after the All-Star break. How are the injuries going to affect the finals or the playoffs?
Well, I think it's going to have a huge impact. But before we talk about the playoffs, I just want to say I wasn't for it, and I'm not for it now. I don't like the idea of watching World Series and basketball at the same time. I think that what he's done in compromising, he's trying to accommodate these guys, I should say, and not have the back-to-backs and have the start of the season to the end of the season just longer. I mean, the last weekend of September, these guys was at camp, preseason camp. That's the last weekend of baseball. Now, it still ends the same, but what you have done is you've just put more days into the calendar to create more risk.
Right.
I'd rather perhaps maybe go back to them resting players at home opposed to on the road and just shorten the calendar. Not the games, but shorten the calendar. Because I'm not going to say that having the season longer from date to date, start to end, is the reason why injuries has occurred, but it could contribute to it.
You came up with something right there. The injuries happen. I don't know. That's a thought. But at the end of the day, what they're not going to do is shorten the season. By games. No. They're not going to shorten the season by games. They're not going to take away revenue. So, I don't know. I think Adam Silver has something to think about. I don't know how you attribute the injuries to the games. And, Steph Curry, what's his name, rolled on his ankle.
Right, that was
JaVale McGee just rolled on his ankle.
Shaqtin' a fool. That was a bad Shaqtin' a fool.
Right. He may be shacking himself out of off a team. But, so we have that injury, but then you have Kyrie Irving. His injury was from 2 seasons ago.
Right, from the Cleveland.
So I don't know if it's about the season as much, but, it's something to think about how they can address it. But you have Kyrie Irving out, and I got to be honest with you. Depending on where Boston is seated, if he doesn't play in the first round, they may not make it out of the first round.
I don't think they survive the first round, depending on how this thing falls out. I think if they play, I think they can beat Miami because Miami doesn't score a lot, so it'll be a kind of a tight game. But if they play, it's a situation where they play a Milwaukee, they may not beat Milwaukee. It just depends on what seed they are, how it kind of falls. Well, Boston's going to be a 2 seed. Depends on who's the 7 seed. They're kind of locked into the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So depends on kind of how it falls out. And that's when they were saying, well, it's going to be a minimally invasive surgery. It's nothing minimally invasive about a surgery. If they're cutting on your knee, it's going to be 3 to 6 weeks. It's not going to be real.
So it's not microscopic.
This is like they cut on your knee. It's going to be.
But they call it microscopic surgery as well.
Right, but it's still going to be at least still a 3-week injury to come back.
But that's minimally invasive.
Right? But it's still going to be a 3 to 6 week. Let's say a 4 to 6 week injury, and you still have him for next year. So it's not like he's a free agent.
No, they're not going to risk it. They're not going to risk next season when they are getting what's his name back.
Right.
They're not going to risk next season.
I think that when you look at the injury to Kyrie Irving and the injury to Steph Curry, I actually think that Boston has a better chance of advancing in the first round than Golden State.
Oh, you stirring it.
There it is. There it is. Back. Okay, come on. Tell me why.
Pontificate on that.
Currently, right now, if the playoffs was to end, Boston would play Miami.
Okay.
I think Boston can get by Miami without Kyrie Irving.
And without Smart.
Yes, I think they can. But if the playoffs was to end right now, Golden State's playing Minnesota. I think they need Curry for that series.
You think they need Curry to beat Minnesota?
I think so.
Even with Durant.
With Durant.
And with Thompson.
And remember,
And Green.
Klay Thompson's got a fractured thumb on his shooting hand. So we don't know if he's gonna be the Klay.
All right, so all right, I'll give you that. They don't have Klay.
They got
They
Klay.
they don't have Klay Thompson.
No, I'm just saying 100%.
Okay,
Klay.
100% Klay, and they don't have Curry. You're saying with Durant as their main person, they can't beat Minnesota?
No, what I'm saying to you is this, and I'll repeat it, guys. I said Boston has a better chance of advancing than Golden State.
Well, then let me say this. If Durant can't carry that team without a 100% Klay Thompson and no Stephen Curry, he should have stayed his butt in OKC. How about that?
And you know what? That will hurt his stock.
That will kill his stock.
And that will hurt his stock because he has, how can I say it? When LeBron went to Miami, D-Wade passed it to him.
Right.
And that's when they started winning, right? Kevin Durant cannot come to Golden State and officially can't rise above Steph Curry. If he wins a round without Curry against Minnesota, we can say he officially arrives.
Right.
Right now, we had him as the number one player in the league when the season started, and I still feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose in the first round to
Without
Minnesota,
Curry, right.
Without Curry, then I have to rethink.
Oh, his stock is going to fall.
So he needs this more than anything. But I think Minnesota is quality enough if they remain in that 7th spot to knock them off or give them a hard time. Let's put it that way.
What do you think, Jeff?
I just don't see Minnesota, a young team.
But if they get, what's his name back?
Butler. They get Butler back. But as far as, so you only have one out of your three main players have been in the playoffs. Two out of four, because your T is a playoff vet and Butler is a playoff vet, but Cat isn't a playoff vet and Wiggins isn't a playoff vet. So the relying on, you got 4 stars and you're relying on 2 of them with that playoff neophytes. So do you think you can get by a veteran-laden, hardened team that will flip the switch? It'll be a tough series, but I think Golden State, instead of Minnesota getting swept, I think it'll be Golden State in 5, maybe Golden State in 6.
Here's the other thing. And again, I'm not saying Minnesota will beat Golden State. I want to make sure I'm clear on it. I just said that Boston has a better chance of advancing. But keep this in mind. Minnesota all year has played better against better teams. Not only that, you got Coach Tibbs on the sideline that knows how to bring the defensive intensity and the playoff run. So it's a lot of things that factors over there. And I'm not saying Minnesota will beat them, but I just think that it's going to be a tougher series. And here's the other thing. Suppose San Antonio is number 7.
Now, that's the thing I said.
With Kawhi Leonard back.
Kawhi ain't coming back, though.
All right? But he may not have to come back. Because, Pop's teams is always, they will put the
smack down. They will put the smack down on Pop's team without Kawhi Leonard.
I agree.
They will literally put the smack down on them.
But if Kawhi is...
Now if Kawhi comes back,
yeah,
that's a different story.
Kawhi comes back and he's
Kawhi.
Now, if Boston faces Milwaukee, they're going home without Kyrie Irving. They're going home.
So you predicting it now?
If Boston faces Milwaukee,
who's going home?
Boston's going home.
Boston's going home.
First round. If they play Milwaukee.
First round.
First round.
No Kyrie.
7 games?
It could be less than that.
Wow.
And the reason for this is that, and you hit the nail on it. When you spoke of Miami, you said Miami lacked offense. Boston lacks offense.
So it'll be 2 rock throwing.
So what happens is that if Milwaukee, who doesn't lack offense, if they're on the offensive game, Boston's not going to be able to keep up.
Even with Brad Stevens on the bench.
Brad Stevens on the bench?
They have to shut Milwaukee down.
And you're saying that's not within the realm of possibility, even with Brad Stevens on the bench?
I think he's capable of bringing scoring down, but will he be able to bring his scoring?
I don't know if Milwaukee's offense is superior to match up with Boston's defense with or without Kyrie. Boston, Brad Stevens is going to, and I'll tell you this, the key to that first round is Kyrie, of course, but Marcus Smart.
It's Marcus Smart. And you heard me say it on this show numerous of times. Marcus Smart is their Draymond Green.
Right.
He guards from the 1 to the 3. He also helps brings the ball up. So he allows others to be shooters. And what's happening, if he's not there to bring that emotional intensity, that leadership, that defense, I don't know if they have enough. And here's the thing. You're going to ask a lot of Rozier, who could be in line for most improved player.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but you're going to ask a lot for him, and then the other guard is Larkin. So I don't know if that's who you want getting the bulk of the time coming off the bench, backing up Rozier. So Milwaukee could be a tough matchup for Boston in the first round. I think they beat Boston without Smart and Kyrie Irving.
Without Smart and Kyrie, there's no doubt.
No doubt. Now,
But if Smart comes back and Kyrie sits out, and listen, if I'm the Boston management and I'm not sure with Kyrie, Kyrie sits.
Right.
This season means nothing to the rest of his career.
but if they do get Miami, which is as a 7th seed, Kyrie will be back for the second round.
Yeah.
He'll be ready. He'll be ready because they'll win that in 6, and that's almost 2 weeks. And it's about 4 weeks before the playoffs start.
You got 3
3
weeks
weeks,
exactly. 3 weeks from
Today?
From yesterday.
Are you sure about that?
Positive, because
When-
the playoffs start the 14th.
The 14th. Oh, so I thought it went after the 16th. Okay. So it'll be probably 5 weeks then after the first.
He's
Yeah.
coming back. If Kyrie is definitely coming back to play against Cleveland in the second round.
Oh, sore knee or not, put a nice back on it. I'm going out there. Give me some Bengay.
Yeah,
He's coming out there.
He's coming.
All right, so let's move on to the West. That 2-3 seed matchup, and the game is happening right now. And if we can get a score on that game, so we just got word. Portland won that game tonight, 108-105 over OKC. So they were 1 game up. That puts them 2 games up. And I don't know that OKC can catch them now. So that just negates this topic.
And it might have gave him the tiebreaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that negates the topic. We can move on because the topic was, can OKC pass Portland?
I mean, mathematically they can catch him. And
Yeah, they mathematically, but you know what? That game was so big. You should have beat them. You were at home. You got to beat them, and you don't want to back into that. You don't want to back into the 3 seed. So my only question is, who do they face in the first round, and who would they face in the second round?
that was 3-4 that was playing.
Right, 3-4.
Right.
So, as it stands right now, OKC would play New Orleans.
OKC plays New Orleans.
And who does Portland play?
They would play San Antonio.
San Antonio 6.
So you can't say that OKC was trying to avoid San Antonio. I don't think anyone's trying to avoid San Antonio.
No.
But, I mean, if you're OKC or if you're Portland, who do you want in the second round?
Who would they face in the second round?
Well,
Houston.
if you're the 3 seed,
You would
get
play the 2
Golden
seed
State.
Golden State if Golden State gets
And if
out.
you're the 4 seed, you'll play Houston.
You play
And
Houston.
one out of Houston, Utah.
Right.
Who would you want? If you're OKC, who would you want?
I'll take Houston.
If I'm OKC, I want
I'll take Houston.
I want Golden State because my bigs, I can just kind of pound them. That's the whole thing. OKC's best chance is to play physical. That's how they were able to get up 3-1. Now they don't have Cantor anymore to play that double team, that double big like they played 2 years ago. But you can still pound with Steven Adams, who is a pretty good offensive player.
Yeah.
We all know him for defense. Really, it's going to be interesting, and I'm kind of being
number
off topic. Who's going to be the third? Who's the third person? He really is going to be.
He's the third.
He's the third option.
Carmelo's the 4th.
But it is my thing. I would rather see OKC play Houston for two reasons. One, I don't think Houston's defense is going to be strong in the playoffs. That's number one. But number two, Houston would love to have Capella on the court, which will allow you to have Adams on the court. And I think Adams could get the best of Capella.
In a four-game series,
in a series, right. And then that allows OKC to have their defensive man on the court. So I think that OKC would love to play Houston in the second round over Golden State. And if I'm Portland, they don't have a third guy on that team. And if the I was going to say the center, Yurt would probably be the closest to a third option there. So if I'm Portland, I actually would want to play Houston too, because you want to keep your big man on the court. Again, if Golden State, I know you guys mentioned it last week that the depth lineup
it's not that good.
It's not what it was, but it's still a factor if Draymond Green is the 5, because it brings your big man out on the perimeter to guard him, and it leaves the back door open. It takes him away from rebounding positions, and then Draymond Green can take any of these 7-footers off the dribble and go to the basket.
Now, Draymond Green is only hitting, I think he's less than 30, right at 30% or a little less than 30% from the 3 this year. So I'm like, shoot on.
Shoot, right.
Shoot. I'll let him beat me. I'm singling. That's why the death lineup isn't working that good this year, because you can just kind of say, okay, everybody else can shoot. I'll lay off of him. I'll lay off of him. If he beats me, he beats me, but I don't think he can beat me 4 games.
Right.
So that's the thing. He may beat me 1 game. Like in a regular season, he'll beat you because he'll get hot and he'll beat you. But I don't think in a 4-game series, I'm like, you can shoot.
But the matchup nightmare with Golden State is always Durant.
Right.
He's the matchup nightmare. Who
you
do you have that can, match up with him? So, Draymond Green, I hear you. Let Draymond Green, I think the other intangibles is what Draymond is going to bring. Not on the offensive scoring side of the court, rebounding, defense, a gut, intangibles. Those intangibles is what he's going to bring to the team.
When the game starts and they have their starting 5 out there, if OKC is matched up against Golden State, I think you put Paul George on Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that's the best option.
And put Carmelo on Draymond.
That's the best option.
Okay, no, you maybe put. Okay, who do you? So you put Brew on Clay?
Put Brew on Clay.
Who would have been? Roberson would have been on Clay.
Right.
But now it's Brew.
That's the best option.
Right.
That's the best option.
Because, and listen, he's not gonna stop Durant. Maybe he could just stay in front of him. Or stay
Slow him down.
Slow him down just a little.
Get him going up. Get him going up. And he's probably the best on-ball defender. Now that what's his name is out.
Right.
He's the best on-ball defender that they have, so you got to put him on him. Let's talk about coaching. As we look at D'Antoni, he failed in LA. He failed in New York. He had success in Phoenix, but he's had some failures along the way. But he got another shot. What does that say for people like Fizdale, Jason Kidd, and Brown?
Mike Brown.
Mike Woodson. Right.
Mark Jackson.
Did we just name all black coaches?
Yes.
Oh, we did. Okay. All right. So the black coach band, is it going to continue?
I think this offseason,
there's going to be a lot of openings this offseason.
I believe you're going to see at least 2 of those names that I mentioned. Get a job. I personally think that Fizdale will be the Lakers' next head coach.
You keep saying that, but I don't see it.
Yeah, they're not getting rid of Wall.
They're not getting rid of Wall.
Listen, and whenever there's new management, and you're not their guy, management always wants to bring in their guy. They want to pick their guy. I can see Magic Johnson making a change. Luke Walton has done, to me, a fantastic job with this Lakers. Where if I had a vote for Coach of the Year, he would make my top 10 as Coach of the Year, even though they're not going to sniff the playoffs and they're well out of the playoff race. But what he had to deal with with a team that wasn't in favor of winning. It was just let's see what we got here. We're going to be active in the free agency, but he's done a great job. But I really believe that Magic Johnson is bringing in Fizdale at the end of the season, and I believe New York is going to make a change. Hornacek will be out of there, and I think Mark Jackson gets back into the league.
Now they make some. Now I read something today that Phoenix is looking at Mark Jackson. So that's going to be just so you got Phoenix and New York, the Knicks looking at Mark Jackson. I think
two organizations that I'm just not in favor of a Mark Jackson going to.
it may be maybe you may be looking at something in Detroit where they strip Van Gundy. He's either not going to be the coach next year, he's not going to
Van
be the
Gundy's
GM.
gone.
I think he's going to be one or the other. He'll
He's
either be
gone.
the
I think
GM.
he's gone.
I think
He's gone.
I think he'll be the coach.
I think Mike Brown gets a look there. I think Jason Kidd gets a look at Phoenix.
Jason Kidd and Phoenix. He's already coached. Did he already?
No, he didn't coach in Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Nets and now Milwaukee.
Okay. That's right. He played in Phoenix.
Yeah, he played in Phoenix, and that's could be. But what about Nash? Nash is
They were talking about Nash, a long shot. Oh, and they also said Denver, if Mike Malone may be blown out if they don't make the playoffs. So you got Denver, possible, Phoenix, New York, Orlando, Vogel.
There's going to be a lot of spots.
I got one for you. Clifford may get blown out in Charlotte.
Charlotte, he was sick, but yeah, he's going to get blown out. So so with Lou Williams, you think that Lou Williams, Ty Lue is being forced out in Cleveland? Do you see Ty Lue finding a spot anywhere?
Ty Lue is.
Wait a minute, we have to rewind. Wait a minute, huh?
Ty Lue will not be the head coach of Cleveland next season.
So so if you say that, will he be back for the playoffs?
I would be surprised and shocked if he returns to the sidelines.
So you think when we saw him about 10 days ago, him and LeBron yelling at each other, that was the last that we see of Ty Lue?
Correct.
Why?
The fact that he's away from the game, and I don't know how to say this. I don't know if it's wise to say I hope he's sick, but I don't want him to be sick. But I just think it's another way of forcing somebody out. And I think instead of firing him, he's just being let step away.
Now, from the things I've read from media people, they say that Larry Drew got a raw deal in Milwaukee and in Atlanta, that he is a very good X&O guy. But that was the same thing they said about Ty Lue when he first got there. And from what I understand,
Who does LeBron like?
That's what this thing is going to come down to.
The question is, how long does he like you?
Does he like Ty Lue?
He liked Ty Lue when they let go of Black.
Right.
So it's.
If I'm and we didn't name any. I guess the closest top tier coach that we named was Mark Jackson.
But he was only 121 and 109.
Right, so he's not even a top tier.
But he's not a top tier.
He took over the baby Warriors.
Right.
And he groomed them each year. The first time they went to a playoff with an under 500 record, he matched up with San Antonio in the 1-8 and pushed them. And then his last season, he won 50-plus games.
But would you name him as a top tier coach?
I wouldn't name him as a top
right
tier
now.
coach.
I mean, of the availabilities of the people who's available, he's probably second best of the coaches that we named up there. I mean,
Who's first best?
I mean, you might have to give Woodson over him. Woodson took the baby Hawks and did this every year. Every year. Just went better and better.
The only problem I have with Woodson, one problem. Everywhere he's gone, he played ISO ball.
Yeah, but it brought up wins. I mean,
yeah, but that ISO ball is not going to give him. I mean,
he won 50 games with New York.
He's not ISO ball. Is not. I mean,
games.
That's like those coaches that can get you, improve you, but you ain't going nowhere with them.
But think about it. He didn't have a point guard to take over.
I don't see Woodson going to a top tier team.
He'll go.
I see him getting.
I don't see him getting a chance. I don't think he gets another chance.
With all the jobs opening up?
I don't think he gets another chance.
Black coaches matter. Black coaches matter. As we go to our closing comments, we normally have the weekend preview in this segment right here. But in lieu of the Final Four coming up this weekend, and we checked it, there weren't any real compelling games that we really needed to focus in on. If you feel that we're wrong about that, that's your time to shout at us. Let us know that we were wrong and we should have previewed a game. Let us know about it, because this is a fan show. We're not experts. We're passionate fans talking about the game that we love. So we don't have a weekly preview this week, so we're going to go to our closing comments. Rob?
You know, I need you guys to walk with me on my closing comments. Yesterday, sometime during the day, maybe about 3 o'clock, I happened to turn on the television, and it was on a Spanish channel. But all I could see is a bunch of students protesting, March for Our Lives. And I'm thinking, it's on a Spanish station. Let me find it and see if it's on CNN. So I turned on CNN, and sure enough, this was a live broadcast of students marching and protesting, rather, for March of Our Lives. And they were in Washington, the nation's capital. But at the time that they were there, it was everywhere, throughout the country. There was many cities these students was protesting, and it was all led by the students in Florida of the recent shooting of the high school. I asked you guys to walk with me on this because you say, what does this have to do with a closing comment for DeepHoops? Well, it has a lot. First of all, I admire those students for taking this protest and doing what they're doing. I think they're courageous and they should be commended. I listen to these students speak, and they sound like future politicians. And my 8th grade daughter, she participated in a walkout last week, and I was proud of her as well. But where I tie this into sports is, today, while I was traveling, I'm listening to the sports show that I normally listen to on NBA radio. And they were talking about what D-Wade and Carmelo Anthony done. D-Wade donated $200,000 to the students of Chicago to fund their trip to the nation's capital. Carmelo, although Baltimore is a hot skip and a jump, he arranged and paid for 4,500 students to make the trip to the nation's capital. This is what I want to see of our athletes. You know, I grew up in an era, I wasn't around to really watch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, along with Ali in the 60s, along with Jim Brown. But I was a real strong, passionate fan in the 80s and the 90s. And I can't recall any of the athletes of those times doing anything that was off the court to the magnitude of what today's stars is doing. Whether it's the Trayvon Martin case or any other. We just had really a lockout up in Sacramento over the weekend because of what took place with the killing of the 20-year-old young man in his own backyard that was shot 20-something times. To see these students do what they're doing and to have the support by some of the game's major stars made me be proud of an NBA fan today. And I commend Carmelo Anthony and D. Wade. Yeah, some might look at it and say, well, they make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, they do make a lot of money. They didn't have to do anything at all. But the fact that they did it was strong. And they represent our NBA today. So I just want to say thank you to D. Wade and Carmelo Anthony for what they did for these young students as they continue their protest, what matters to them as they march for our lives.
And you know what? I want to add one other name to it, not for the march, but you talked about the young high school kid that was killed in Sacramento in his backyard, in his grandmother's backyard. And DeMarcus Cousins is going to pay for the funeral.
Exactly. And he, and he is going to pay for the
Right.
field.
So
and he's in New Orleans now.
Right, he's in New Orleans, but he feels connected to
the
the Sacramento community.
That's a good call.
And what these NBA players are doing beyond the court as activists
It's outstanding.
It's meaningful. And I condemn LeBron a lot for a number of things, but there's no greater activist than LeBron. And when we had a Michael Jordan says Republicans or whatever buy sneakers too, just take a stance. I don't care what your stance is. I know that you've been funding and investing in prisons, so maybe that's why it's all about the dollar. The players today are taking a stance. They're standing for something, and you have to commend them. Yeah, that's kudos, Rod. And I'm sorry for piggybacking on your closing comments, but that was dope. That was definitely dope. My closing comments are not as politically relevant, but it is NBA politically relevant. I heard Frank Isola on NBA radio, we're big NBA radio listeners, say that he could not vote for Ben Simmons as the Rookie of the Year because he is not legitimately a rookie. By the rules of the NBA, he is a rookie. Now, you could say that you want to vote for Donovan Mitchell. You could say that and say that's why you're not going to vote for Ben Simmons. But it literally comes down to two players. If I'm wrong, you correct me on that. It comes down to two players. I mean, someone can make possibly a compelling argument, but I don't think it would hold water. It comes down to Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell. And if you want to go with Donovan Mitchell because you feel that he's a better player, you go with Donovan Mitchell. But the rules state that Ben Simmons is a rookie. He did not play one NBA game with the Philadelphia 76ers last year. And he is having a heck of a season. I hope that you don't have a whole bunch of Frank Isolas that are going to vote for Donovan Mitchell because of this, what they think is a technicality, as opposed to what you see on the court. Once again, if you feel that Donovan Mitchell is your Rookie of the Year, you vote for Donovan Mitchell. But if you're voting for Donovan Mitchell because you're saying that Ben Simmons is not a true rookie, get off it. And they need to take your vote. You should not be voting because you're supposed to vote by the rules, not by your said political agenda. Ben Simmons is a rookie. Period. End of discussion. And if you're not voting for him, make it a basketball reason on the court and not your political opinion of the rules of the NBA. Until the rules change, he's a rookie. And if he's the best player in your opinion, you need to vote for Ben Simmons. In my opinion, Donovan Mitchell had a great season, but I don't think that he had a whole great season. My Rookie of the Year vote would be for Ben Simmons, but that's on the court. Make your decision based on the court and not something that your argument with the rules of the NBA. That's my closing comments.
Good stuff.
For Tim Brayboy, it is. I gotta say it again, man. We've had a great chemistry, just the two of us. But it's been great having Tim back. I mean, literally great having Tim back. We haven't been able to get into it, but we teamed up on you. I guess next week y'all are gonna team up on me. That's the way it goes, huh?
Well, you throwing the pass.
I just throw the pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you throw a boomerang pass, we're not gonna be able to get on you.
I kind of stay neutral. But listen, for Tim Brayboy, I'm the minister.
And I'm Rob.
And we'd like to thank you for being a part of this Deep Hoops podcast. Remember, Theron is going to put it right here, telling you how you can reach out to us. And I want to encourage you to watch all of the broadcasts and reading the things that we have on New Flavor TV. Okay? Theron is doing a great job, who is our executive producer on this show. He's doing a great job with a medium that is bringing a lot of information to you on the internet. Check it out. He has reviews on movies. He has a podcast on movies. This podcast, we have some other scripted shows coming up on New Flavor TV. I want you to be a part of it. So join New Flavor TV. Join Deep Hoops. We like to thank you. And remember, we're not experts, but we're passionate fans talking about the game we love. Peace. it.